Yo, what's going on, everybody? My name is Tyler, and welcome back to the Mind of a Nerd studio. And tonight we are talking about basically the movie that's capping off the summer, the newest film from A24, Bodies, 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 directed by Helena Rajan. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. And we figured that we would want to get into the aesthetic of the movie,
Yeah,
and I did not get a chance to get any glow sticks, unfortunately. But this is going to be my glow stick. These guys understood the assignment beautifully, especially Benji. He's dripped out in glow sticks. That's what we like to see.
I just tried to do her shit, make look like put all the shit she had on.
And yeah, so I was, believe it or not, I was very excited for this movie. I say believe it or not because this is A24 after all. And normally when I get super excited for A24 movies, they end up disappointing me. Um Hereditary, I was very excited to watch, and then when I watched it, I was like, okay, it was fine, I guess. And then when I went to go see X this year, I was very excited for that movie, and that was another colossal disappointment. So I walked into this movie while being excited, very hesitant because I was like, I don't know, man. It's A24, but let's see. And I walked out of this movie both surprised and happy at the same time without my mind, because Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is not only one of my favorite movies this year, which is not hard to do, it's my favorite horror movie of this year, and it's one of my favorite horror movies in recent memory. I
Yeah.
think Bodies, Bodies, Bodies was an absolute masterclass of filmmaking. I
We
think
only get
it's
one good one every year. Last year was the Malignant. We only really get one amazing horror movie a year, and I feel like this is probably that one.
there are not, this year has been pretty awful for horror, if I say so myself. I know a lot of people have liked movies that I don't like. I didn't really like X. I didn't really care for Black Phone. I kind of hate Scream now.
Yeah,
And really the only horror movie that I would have considered good was Nope, and Fresh was really good, and Multiverse of Madness. um it feels so good to finally watch a horror movie this year and be so happy and feel that it's so good, and that takes talent. And I thought this movie was absolutely incredible. How did you guys feel about Bodies, Bodies, Bodies?
it's good.
Benji.
I went in kind of knowing that I saw the trailer. I know a lot of the cast from other things, and it was nice to see that there was a new director and writer I haven't heard of in my life doing an A24 horror movie, and it also had the gimmick of it's also gonna deal with Gen Z and how Gen Z reacts to things. And I thought that's kind of cool. That's kind of interesting. I was hoping that it wasn't going to turn into like when Scream 5 did it, it felt very generic the way that they wrote their teenage characters. It just didn't work for me. But with this, it was a natural. It's a natural horror movie. I would say it's a murder mystery. I don't know if I can call it a slasher though. And we'll
It's
get
a who
into
done
that
it.
in the spoilers. It's more of a who done it like Clue, which I love Clue. Clue's a great movie. It's probably my favorite whodunit since Clue, frankly. Maybe my favorite of this meta killer genre since Scream. Like it's I went in, I was like, oh, it's gonna be good. I think it's gonna be good. I didn't think it was gonna be that good though. I was by the end of it, I was like, this is pretty good, this is pretty good. And then the last 10 minutes is what made it for me attempt like a really like a perfect movie to me was the ending, but everything's good. The writing is natural. The film is funny, but also a little bit terrifying. Also, in some cases, like it's a movie that it covers all of its bases. Great performances, great cinematography. It's quick. It's 95 minutes or something, so it doesn't ever feel like you're there for too long, and it doesn't feel generic. That's the thing. I think that it doesn't feel generic, and that's what I love about it. Feels different. Feels unique.
Hmm.
AJ?
Yeah, I can agree to pretty much everything that you guys are saying. It is one of my favorites. Definitely one of my favorite A24 films.
Yeah.
I was surprised at that. So when I going into this movie, I was not excited. I saw the trailer, the first trailer. I didn't watch the second one. I saw the first trailer. I did not like it. I straight didn't like it. And usually with movies, like I'll be like, yeah, it was okay. It has potential. But with this movie, I saw the trailer and I said, I rolled my eyes so hard because of the dialogue, because of what it seemed to be. And it felt super forced. A lot of the dialogue, a lot of the Gen Z slang, and I was like, this movie is not going to be for me. But it's A24, so I gotta see it in the theater. So I went to the theater. By the time it was time for me to go see it in the theater, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go in with an open mind. I'm not gonna, oh, this movie's gonna suck no matter what. I just went in with an open mind. And I was pleasantly surprised. I thought the script was fantastic. And the thing that really sold this movie for me was the cast and the characters. The cast and the characters were the highlight for me. Yes, it had great cinematography. It had, good wardrobe, just the score was good. But the cast and the actual characters sold it for me. I rarely watch a movie walking out of it knowing every single person's character. If it's not a pre-established characters, I know every single character's name from this movie. So it made an impression. It made an impression on me. Yeah. So you got Greg, Alice, Jordan, Sophie, B, David, and Emma.
Okay. Well, that's good because
I cannot wait to see this movie again.
Hold on.
Yeah.
1 second.
I'll probably see it again. I'll probably go with someone who hasn't seen it, and I'll see it again because it's like that thing of, it's probably fun to see. It's fun to see in the theater with a lot of people. I saw it in a theater where they clapped when the A24 logo came up, and then throughout the whole movie, it was just laughing and surprise reactions and all that. So it's good to see with the full theater. What was sad for me was in my theater at the Scotiabank, maybe I'll go see it at the Varsity next time because they actually put in a real theater. The one they put me in was like the smallest. It's like a closet theater, but there was still like, probably 100 seats in there, but it was like in the corner of the theater. So, they didn't put in the big theater. So it was a small group of people, but like, I wonder what it would have been like with one of the more medium-sized theaters with more people in it. Probably would have been a lot more fun.
It was a lot of folks in my theater, and it was a lot of like variety of people. I was surprised that it was like young people, older people, and I saw quite a few like older couples in there. They looked like they were about like wild. 50s, 60s. I'm very surprised that they wanted to come see this. Some of the jokes and stuff they were laughing at, others not so much, but like it seemed like everybody had a pretty good time. I had a great theater experience.
And now my theater was literally 18 to 35-year-olds, and then it was like a couple people that were over the age of 40, but the rest of it was just 18 to 30-year-olds. So I'm like, this is like the demographic this movie is trying to hit at. Yeah. So it makes sense.
All right. Let's get into my Wi-Fi is freaking out and it's bugging the shit out of me. But let's get into the positives. There's no negatives. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. There's no negatives for this movie at all.
I can't think of anything bad about this movie.
But let's get into the positives. Everything we loved of Bodies. So AJ hit it on the head. These people are fantastic. All of them. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. All of them.
Every last one.
The standout by a country mile was Rachel Zenit as Alex, who was just hilarious. She was charming. She was so funny, and every scene with her in it, I loved. She was just so funny, and it has to do with the writing. The writing in this movie is superb. It's superb.
It's realistic.
It is.
It
Feels
number
like a
one,
conversation I'd have with people.
I didn't find the movie predictable, which is something that I cannot say in recent whodunits, especially Scream, because Scream, the last one, I predicted the killer 5 minutes in. If someone tells me, and I've heard people say this bullshit, if someone tells me I predicted the twist in this movie, there are not many times where I will tell you you're wrong. But this is one time where I'll tell you you're wrong. There's no way.
Yeah, this in The Village. If you tell me you got the twist, I'm like, you're full of shit, bro.
There's no way people predicted the twist that's in this movie. The atmosphere in this movie is incredible. You know, it looks like this. The way we look, that's basically how the whole movie looks, unless there's like a lamp or a candle in the room. And that's genius. When the characters are walking around, you could hear a pin drop in my theater because everyone was just so interested, because the whole movie is essentially this. It's essentially, if my phone would fucking work, it's essentially this. And you know, you see this, and the only time you really see light is when the flashlight is behind them. And there are so many times where I thought, oh my God, something's going to happen, but then there's nothing there, you know, and that's due to the atmosphere of the movie. It's fucking brilliant. The scares. I need to give a personal thanks right now. Helena Region, if you are listening, thank you for delivering a horror movie with no annoying jump scares. You gave me one. That's
Wait,
it.
what was the annoying jump scare?
He's saying there was no annoying jump scares. There was like one jump scare.
Dude, thank you for understanding that you don't need a loud booming sound effect to scare people. You don't. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's all I want in horror. That's all I want. Thank you.
Yeah.
Please.
Benji, you said you don't remember a jump scare?
I don't remember what jump scare you're talking about, but you're right. It could have.
It was like one where Greg was coming down the stairs and
he
goes,
okay.
The whole theater jumped.
Yeah, okay. But no, it's that thing of like, it's not like they're putting a jump scare every like 2 minutes, like every modern horror movie does.
Yeah.
But there are scares, but it's silent because we are getting scared of what's happening, and we're not being scared because we're told to be scared. We get scared because of what's happening. That is horror.
Natural. It feels natural.
I'm not getting scared because I'm not being scared because I'm told to be scared. I'm getting scared because I feel scared. That's what I want. And that's what horror people in this generation don't understand. But no, people want more shit like The Black Phone and Scream, where there's, you know, blah, blah.
Yeah, and then they don't, and then that's the thing too, is with The Black Phone and the Scream, specifically The Black Phone, they leave so much open that they never answer. This movie probably had like 7 or 8 Chekhov's guns, and all of them were explained.
It wraps up so nicely.
Everything from the car window to the sword to everything, every item they bring in as a Chekhov's gun is used, and it's developed.
There's only one thing that's not, you know, checked off, but it doesn't ruin the movie for me. It's just like, okay, I guess that's whatever.
I think that was the point with that one.
The pacing for the most part is pretty good. I would say that's my one itty bitty negative, is that the pacing towards the second act got a little slow, but on a rewatch, I'll probably forgive it. It's whatever. The one thing that's probably the best thing is the chemistry with the actors. I think they really needed to hit that on the head, especially for scenes later in the movie. And I think it's all great. And the story of this movie is fantastic. And the ending of this movie, the ending of this movie will make or break how you feel about this movie. Because I've seen some people say, I don't like the ending, and because of that, my score got lowered. And then you have us, who we saw the ending and we loved it, and we were like, Oh yeah,
That's the
okay,
main
that makes
point.
the movie.
It's a genius.
That's the main point in my essay. I think I wrote when I put up my thoughts of it was that it's. I think that the ending recontextualizes the whole movie and changes what it means, which I think is brilliant.
Yes.
But some people might not catch on to that. They might see it as different as a weak, lazy ending. But I think that for me at least, I was like, deep down, it changes what the whole message and the whole vibe of the movie is.
It does.
Which I'm like,
And
that's crazy.
when the reveal was actually revealed, it made me go and like actually try to think of everything that happened, recall everything that happened in the movie, and kind of wrap it all together with a bow. And it blew my mind.
I want to, because I want to talk spoilers so bad.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna ask everyone what our grades are because we all have the same
We're all the
grades.
same.
Bodies was absolutely incredible. It's one of the best movies of the year. We kept it vague because we go into this movie blind. Don't even watch the trailers because the trailers are mismarketed. It's not a negative, but that's what the situation is. Go into this movie open-minded, and you're gonna have an absolute great time with Bodies. Hopefully, as for us across the board, I think it's the first ever one on here. A 5 out of fucking 5.
This is going to be in the top of my list
banger.
at the end of the year. I think this is going to be in the top 5 by the end of
it.
Right now it's at the top, but at some point,
maybe I should do that. Maybe I should have like the ratings with the awards with the names, and 5 out of 5 would be absolute banger. That would be cool. But yes, I know there's people that have not seen this movie, so
get the fuck out.
Get out!
Get the fuck
as
out.
we spoil all
see my hand.
of Bodies.
I don't think they've ever done this in a movie ever of this genre.
So me and Benji were talking about this, and I don't think there's a horror movie out there that has done an ending where there's no killer and everything was an accident.
It was all delusional accidents. They all thought that they were killers because
basically this movie was an episode of Jackass gone wrong.
They were like, yo, they didn't think for 1 second that maybe Pete Davidson accidentally killed himself. They right away were like, no, there's a killer. And it was literally just it's a psychological thriller. When you finish the movie, you're like, you recontextualize it. It's like it's a psychological thriller about how we're so quick to judge each other. It's like such an interesting.
It's gonna suck when we rewatch this movie, and then every time the characters are saying, "No, I didn't do this. It's like, fuck, man, they're actually telling the truth.
That's why I said I cannot wait to watch this again and like see everything in a different perspective.
You'll feel so omnipotent, like I just want to come in and tell you that there's no killer. But like,
the thing that I loved was. Because I was thinking back when the movie ended, I was like, I actually love the fact that they think that one of them is the killer because they all have so much beef with each other. Because they think that they're friends when realistically they're really not, because of how much beef they all have with each other. And because of all that animosity, they're like, no, fuck you, you're the killer. And they can say that and not feel bad because realistically they don't like each other. And
it just starts unraveling. It starts unraveling throughout the entire film, and by the end, it just all comes out. Everything comes out.
Crazy accusations. They throw each other under the bus. They hate listen to podcasts. Do everything, man. Like
the dialogue in this movie was just. It was really well done, and it was hilarious. There's so many little scenes that they shouldn't be funny, but they are. Like one of them was when Alice was like screaming randomly, like, "Oh, you're silencing me! You're silencing me!"
And she put her hand on her.
Yeah, and I laughed so hard because this movie is essentially a Twitter satire. That's what it is. And I've seen people say I don't like it because it's that, and it's like, well. That's real life. It's a real life satire. That's what it is.
They don't do it in a way where it feels exploitative or it feels like they're trying. It's not gimmicky. That's the thing too. And I think that there's so many other movies that have come out, including one we were talking about before. Assassination Nation feels that way. Just to bring up one we were just talking about before the stream, a lot of other movies feel like a gimmick. Like it's people who don't understand who are trying to play with this realm, but they're saying just buzzwords, like internet buzzwords.
Mm-hmm.
But with this movie, it's from some people who understand, who are in that world.
The way this movie strolls along, I love, because I love when they start playing the game. That's when it gets really good. I've seen some people say, "Oh, everything before that is like whatever." I was kind of into it because I was like, I knew it was gonna go somewhere. Like I wasn't sitting there like, "Where is this going?" Like we all knew where it was going.
That's kind of how I was feeling when I first watched the movie. I felt like I wasn't really into it before the game started, but as everything started unraveling, I started to appreciate more and more what happened before, because it really established those relationships, established those, the rifts between the relationships, and I was really into it after that.
The acting again, it was just Pete Davidson. He's not in it much, and I kind of think that was a smart decision because he's very off the walls in this movie. He's not bad. He's really good. All the acting is good.
Yeah.
But I feel like if he was in this movie with the rest of the characters, it would have been a little bit distracting because I feel like he brings the most name value to this movie.
I think that's probably why they did it, was that they wanted to focus on the other characters, and they killed him because they're like, well, he's gonna bring the people in, but he's gonna be the linchpin of it all, which I think is a smart choice because, frankly, I would rather see Lee Pace go longer than Pete Davidson, even though I like Pete Davidson. I think Lee Pace added more to the story in terms of that dynamic.
Yeah, I think they kind of did a similar thing with the Suicide. Well, with the Suicide Squad, with Pete Davidson, but he was used well in both instances.
So they, when they found Greg, it took them a long time to find Greg. There was a really nice jump scare or false death where they found I think it was Emma. They found Emma in the bed and she was sleeping or whatever, and they made it look like she was dead. And that was really cool when she was like, "Oh no, she's just sleeping." I really liked that. The scene where they killed Greg, I was on the edge of my seat because I was like, "What the fuck is about to happen right now?" I thought
he's got the weapon, and literally Alice is fucking literally having a panic attack, and it's like, it's fine. It's like, okay.
I thought what they were gonna do is they were gonna reveal he was the killer, and then the whole movie was just gonna be him chasing them. That's what I thought.
I was thinking that might have been it too.
I didn't want that, but I was like, this could be interesting if they do this. And then Greg fucking dies, and I was like, what the fuck?
Because they keep revealing who you would think the killer would be, and then they just die. They kill the person you think the killer is, so you're like, who the fuck is the killer then? And
I had a suspicion at one point that Alice was the killer. I didn't want that, but I was like, I could see them doing
that. Because she was the scenes, including where it's like, "Oh, you talking about me?" And when she's having to make a point about "Oh, well, it's okay that your sex life isn't great because I have sex all the time." It's just I felt like there was too much of her just being all the bubbly personality that I'm she seems too invested in this group that
the one thing that was a little iffy on was what's this girl's name? The Russian girl.
Yeah.
B.
Maria Bakalova from Borat.
They treat her odd in this movie. She has this whole other I'm gonna turn my brightness up. You can't really see me. They have this whole thing where she has dirt, and she's supposed to be not who she really is. And I was like, so are you the killer or whatever? And something about that felt weird, and I feel like that was just thrown in there. That way I could say what I just said, oh, maybe she's the killer. And I feel like it doesn't really have a purpose in the movie because then they later reveal, oh yeah, all that is bullshit. She just is. She is who she is. And
Yeah.
I was like, that's a little strange. I
I
don't know.
didn't think she was the villain because she was the main character, and I'm like, why would they make the lead of the movie the killer? So I never thought that she was necessarily the killer, but there were a few times where I'm like, oh, are you trying to convince me? But I think a lot of it was they wanted to deepen her as a main character by talking about her backstory, about how she has terrible things that have happened, and she's clearly has a survival mode to it where she's just like she's trying to protect herself,
Yeah.
over
And
a lot of things.
that's how she was able to kill Greg. None of them else.
Yeah.
None of the other ones were able to kill Greg because they're not.
She survived the hurricane. She killed Greg. Like she did all that because she's been through shit. And I think a lot of that has to do with. I think it's probably a discussion about class system. Like she's clearly not this. She's not a rich person like all of them.
Yeah.
She's been through stuff. She has a mom that's got like mental issues. She doesn't have a dad, from what we understand. So I think that it was almost the thing of she was out of the fold because she was always because that whole joke of in the scene where they're like, oh, you had a shift of work where you work. She's like Game Hut. It's like clearly they're trying to show off that she has a job, like a minimum wage job, and she's kind of a middle class.
She's a normie,
higher lower class normie, and that's why they were all alienated. They were like, well, you must be the killer because you're new and shit. But it's like, she's a different class area. But
that doesn't
I think
necessarily mean that she's a murderer.
Yeah, there's that, and it's also a takedown of Gen Z and how Gen Z likes to attack people without having all the facts. And it's like, oh, well, you're a problem. Anytime you're on Twitter, anyone under the age of 30 that's on Twitter or part of film Twitter, any type of Twitter, it's a two-sided war of, oh, well, you're a murderer because you think this way, or you're a. So I think that's essentially it was. I think this movie is a response to Helena being in, and the crew that wrote it too being in quarantine and just looking at Twitter all the time and be like, what if we did a horror movie like that?
They were bored in the house and the house bored.
Yeah, they were bored in the house and they're like, let's write a horror movie where there's no killer, but it's more a metaphor for Gen Z likes to attack people and have no reasoning behind it. It's like, yeah. Okay, I think that's what it's about.
It has to be, I think the movie's genius. I do. When they kill this girl.
Emma.
The one that they thought Jordan. When they killed Jordan, I was like, what is gonna happen? Because now B was running away from Sophie, and I was like, are they just gonna separate and just leave the house separately, and that was it? And then
because I was confused because I'm like, so one of those are the killer. How is it our two leads? How are two leads the killer?
I was thinking maybe it was Sophie for a second.
I was like, it could be Sophie.
I did too.
Acting crazy, but then I'm like, but that doesn't. That's weird. What's her motive? And
this movie keeps you guessing, though.
It does.
Really does.
It's not predictable.
It's not. It keeps you guessing.
That's what I'm saying. People say I predicted that there was no killer. How? Are you clairvoyant? How? Like, I need to know. You must have seen a lot of fucking movies to sit here and tell me, yeah, I predicted that there was no killer. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. The one thing that we don't find out what it is that apparently there's dirt on Sophie's phone about God knows what.
Supposedly her and the other
supposed
girl
to be her and Jordan hooked up before
Yeah.
the getaway.
Yeah.
And there was like text for it, but we never figured that out. But I think it's supposed to be left because I think now that I think back to it, there's no killer. At first, I thought that was an excuse to blame her to be a killer, but since there was no killer, I feel like that happened. There's no way that you would make that up to pretend there's a killer and to pretend that you're not the killer when there was no killer. So I feel like most likely that happened. They don't tell us, but it seems like why would that come up?
Right.
So then we get this reveal that Because I was sitting there wondering, like, man, how is this fucking? I knew Max was gonna show up before the
Yeah,
movie
they
ended.
they kept saying his name, and I was
Yeah,
like, "Where is this man?"
I was wondering who it was gonna be in terms of an
Yeah, I thought it was
actor.
gonna be. I thought it was gonna be like
Uh,
Ryan Reynolds or
it-
somebody,
yo,
somebody random.
that would have been funny. Ryan Reynolds back-to-back movies. That would've been funny.
Yeah.
I thought I for some reason I was thinking like James Franco for whatever reason. It
Yeah,
was like
Dave Franco,
Something of
James
that
Franco.
status, yeah. Just Dave Franco walks in. What the fuck is going on?
so we get this reveal that I was sitting there like, man, what is gonna happen? Dude? I thought the killer was Max, and I thought they were gonna give some motive because he wasn't in the movie at all. They kept saying Max, Max,
They
Max,
kept
Max.
saying his name throughout the whole movie.
So they find Pete Davidson's phone after they like fight or whatever, and they open a TikTok, and immediately when they showed him do it, first of all, great callback to the beginning of the movie because
Mhm.
I did not think that. I thought I knew the machete was gonna come back, but I didn't think that was actually gonna come back. So early in the movie, Greg he cuts the top off with a machete, which
Yeah, does that party trick.
yeah. And so, of course, Pete Davidson, like the wise man that he is, hopefully he doesn't try to do this after what's happened recently. God forbid.
Yeah.
He's trying to open the bottle, and he fucking cuts his throat
He
and
cuts towards himself.
like
He
an
starts
idiot,
cutting towards himself.
and he kills himself. And when I saw that, and then they realized what happened, I said, "Oh my freaking god, that is
Everything started coming
amazing!"
together.
I
Yeah.
was like, "Yes!" I was
And
like, "Bro, oh my god!"
Yeah,
Started to think back
when
to
she
every
said
single
that's
kill.
not my phone, I was like, what the hell's going on? When they showed him open the phone, I'm like,
and
are they
one
gonna
of the
reveal
first
he's the killer?
things
Like, what the fuck's
that
going on?
one of the first things that I thought back, I thought he wasn't dead, like because
Mm.
they show him like a lot. And I was like, watch him like not be dead.
A thought did go through my mind throughout the movie. I was like, what if like some of them are pretending to die because they're trying to do an intervention for Sophie because she's kind of messed up.
Oh, that would
Like I thought about that throughout the
Yeah.
movie.
that could
but
have been
they-
funny, but also if they were pretending to like they were actually playing the game, but they were making it look real.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
How would you
but,
guys have felt if that was the ending?
I wouldn't have been mad about it. The
don't
movie
think I
would
would
have
have
been
been
an
mad
8.
about
I
it.
feel like that's more of a cop out ending though than
It's a
there's no
cop-out,
killer.
Yeah,
Because
it still,
that-
it wouldn't as- yeah. It
Because I
wouldn't have
feel like
been as
that
bad as Street
ending,
Five, but-
most people, some people are saying that this feels like a cop out ending. What we got, I feel like that's more of a cop out ending. If none of this
Yeah.
was happening, it was just fake.
and then everybody
Because
just
that's what
is
I thought
alive.
in the first
Yeah,
act.
that's a funny and
Yeah.
clever ending, but it is a cop out ending. I
I
feel
thought
like
that was
this
what was
is
happening in the
better.
first act because no one was dying in the first act. I'm like, oh,
I
so
did.
it's
I
fake.
liked. Oh man, in the
Yeah.
beginning when they started playing and Greg dies in the game,
Yeah,
and he's not moving. I was like, oh, that's really cool because I was like, oh, here we go, it's starting, and then he's like, no, I'm good. I was like, oh,
I'm so glad
that
that they
scene
didn't
got
start
everyone
like that.
laughing.
yeah, me
That
too.
scene got everyone laughing. Where
I felt like if he
slapped
would have
him in
been
the dick with
dead,
the fucking-
I felt like if Greg was dead in that moment, it
Yeah.
would have been like, well, we didn't really like. I didn't feel an oomph to that
Mhm.
death. Like I wanted to feel an oomph, but when Pete
Yeah.
Davidson dies, I was just like, oh, okay, this is where it started.
Yeah.
You see all the blood
And
gushing out.
there was
everything.
no
You're right, Tyler.
jump
I think
scares.
Because
None.
the first trailer,
I love it.
That ending that you brought up, I feel like it wouldn't have been as smart because it wouldn't have hit home the meaning of the movie or recontextualized it or brought some subtext if it was just like, oh well, we're pretending like it's not real. But with this is the only ending because I know we were talking about it when I was leaving. I'm like, this is the only ending they could have done. This is the only because this
Great ending.
rewrote the whole movie and brought like multiple layers into the movie of what it was saying, and no other ending would have done that. They couldn't have ended it a different way. And I think that if they at that point where Greg was there, I was like, I hope I saw them. He didn't die, and I'm like, oh, what's going on? Because it didn't feel eventful. Thank God he didn't die in that scene because that would have been a weird first kill. He just is dead.
I got a random question. This is so okay. So you've seen the movie, you know how it ends. Fantastic ending. Would you be interested to see like any alternate endings
Yes.
with one of them being the killer?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like an
because I
alternate
would've
ending
been-
for each of them being the killer?
Yeah.
I would have been
That would be
I
kinda
would have
cool.
been.
I mean, it's an
interested-
alternate ending. It doesn't
Yeah, it's
matter.
not real. Like
Yeah.
it's not, real
I'd
to
be
the movie.
I'm
interested.
always open for
Uh,
that. You know,
But I
as
don't
long
think
as
it was written
the
that way.
the official ending is good. Yeah, give me all the alternate
It's
endings
true.
you want. I don't care.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Give me an alternate ending where they're so high they end up in space and they're playing this in space. I don't give a shit.
I don't think there was an alternate.
It's all a
ending, though.
dream.
I
Yeah.
think this is how it was written the whole time. I think that this was
Yeah.
the purpose of it.
For sure. For sure.
Because clearly the way that A24 was hyping this movie up as they were, there was no way this was just going to be a standard slasher film when we already had two or three of those this year that have been really uneventful. There was no way this was just going to be a straight slasher film.
The
So
thing
I think
about-
that it was always there. It was always going to be that it was, different.
The thing about A24 is they're gonna be different. They're not gonna
Yeah.
do everything that everybody's doing. They're gonna be different, and I love that about the studio. Even if you don't like the movie, even if I don't like the movie, it's gonna be unique.
Man, this ending blew Black Phone's ending out of the water.
Yeah, because people are trying to tell me that the ending of Black Phone is the greatest one of the greatest horror endings in a bit, and I'm like, bro, that ending is lame as fuck. They could have done something.
It is. It feels
They
paint by
never
numbers.
They never revealed why he was doing it, which is something that
Yeah.
everyone was wondering. It makes the movie weaker because, like, was he sacrificing them to Satan? Why did he hear the phone? They never explain any of it. They just make it they're like, oh, we have ghosts, but we're never going to tell you about the ghosts either.
Don't
many
get me
unanswered
started on
questions.
that movie, bro.
And I think this
it's
movie blew Scream out of the water too, because
Yeah.
I found Scream very predictable, and
This is the
That-
type of thing I wanted Scream 5 to be.
I wanted it to be smart, but instead they went for nostalgia bait bullshit.
And generic.
I'll just note that I don't hate Scream 5. Everybody else here does.
I don't
but
hate
I
Scream
don't
5.
hate Scream 5.
I just
I like
think
it a
it's
lot,
weak
actually.
attempt at a sequel. I think that when I
I don't
saw
hate it as a movie. As a movie, it's fine, but
Yeah.
I kind of it's my least favorite Scream sequel, and
I left the
I-
theater in this and said, "Thank God this came out." to
And
replace
I
It's my
found
favorite
it-
Scream sequel.
and I found it very, very frustrating because they had a whole new crew and all new things to do, and they just played it safe and did that. I'm hoping, although at this point my expectations are in the toilet, that Scream 6 is just off the hinge and goes crazy. But
Yeah.
asking
I hope
this
they do.
franchise to go off the hinge is like asking for a kidney transplant. But
I
going
don't-
back.
Yeah, go ahead.
Going back to this, I thought it was very weird to, although I know what they were doing, I feel like it was very weird to market this movie as a slasher. But again, I know what they were doing, so I can't really say it's weird.
But did they though?
Yeah, they did. The first
Okay,
trailer,
in what
Yeah.
way did they market it as?
because they made it look like the
People
game
were
was
getting
going
murdered.
wrong and people were getting murdered. They didn't make it
Yeah.
look like people were just dying.
Mhm.
I mean, that's how the movie was. That's literally how the movie was.
No, I meant like as if they were getting kills. Like
That's literally how the movie
It,
was.
it looked more like it was a movie where it wasn't like a mystery of who's killing people. It looked more like someone was going like a slasher. It looked more. It looked more slasher than a mystery, and I think that that's one thing that because I went in thinking, oh, it's gonna be a straight up slasher film, and then when I heard that it was a mystery who done it, I'm like, well, that's even better because that's a more strong genre of
The only thing
storytelling.
I don't like about the trailers it was how all of the Gen Z like slang and everything was put together at one. It looked like,
Like a clip
that's
package.
how it was gonna. Yeah, it seemed
Yeah.
like that was all the movie was gonna be. But in all actuality, the dialogue worked throughout the entire thing.
Mhm.
The way the movie was marketed, as far as the kills or whatever, it's exactly how the film went. So I don't think that it was mismarketed at all. I would
I just
disagree
think
with
maybe I think that maybe to like the most simple viewer, like someone who isn't as invested in the subgenres, they would have seen this as, oh, they're doing another like film like Halloween Kills. You know what I mean? I think, but
No,
since we
I
know
thought Scream.
Scream. I mean, yeah.
since we
And-
know what we've seen so much, I think that we can differentiate. But I think the general audience might have not been able to.
I really wish this was like a Scream. Shit.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this real quick. How would you have liked it to be, the trailer to go? How would you liked it to be?
Well, no, I'm not saying I'm mad about the trailer.
Yeah,
I'm just
I'm happy that
how
happy
it was marketed.
actually. Like I'm really happy that it's marketed that way because I didn't suspect the movie to go
I'm
the way
fine with
it
that.
did.
I'm just like I'm
Yeah.
personally fine with it, but I've seen people say they're
don't like
disappointed
it
because
they were
of how it
misled.
was marketed and how the
Yeah.
movie ends. You know,
I don't feel like there's any other way you can market this movie. There's no
Yeah, 'cause
other
that's the
way
thing,
without
because
giving it away.
how
I
can
mean,
you-
me personally, I'll tell you not to watch it at all because if you watch it, you're gonna expect something that you won't get.
Yeah. Well, because that's the thing is how do you tell people it's a serial killer movie without an actual serial killer?
I expected Gen
Yeah.
Z Scream, and I got something better. Yeah,
Mhm.
well, to an extent, but like, you know, it is Gen Z Scream. Only there's no killer. But I mean, I don't know. I find this movie fucking genius.
The fact that there's no killer is so.
That might be
genius,
among
bro.
my top favorite horror endings of all time.
When I
Legitimately.
was writing my essay
I don't
about
feel
my
bad saying that.
website, I brought up the ending of Saw. It's like the ending of Saw to me. It just comes out of nowhere, and you're like, "That's a brilliant fucking ending," you know.
And I
think
said
you
this
should
when
go
I
up there with it.
Mhm.
I said this when I put out my reaction on Twitter that I think A24 has a new horror classic on their hands, and I don't think enough people realize it. And it's not even me, saying it out of hype because they saw the movie 2 days ago. Well, AJ saw it yesterday, and Benji saw it 2 days ago. I saw it last week. I've had a week to sit on it and think. When I get this movie on physical, I'm going to
Yeah.
watch the fuck out of this movie,
This might be
especially in the summer.
This might be the first horror movie in a while that I'll get on 4K because I want to own it, you know, because there's been a lot of bad horror movies, but this one I'm like, I'll buy it. I'll buy it.
This movie perfectly encaptures having fun but being smart, and that's what horror
that's the
directors don't understand,
Tyler, I see a tear. I see a tear.
bro. Because I feel that you
I
don't
know.
understand, bro. No,
I know it.
I'm sorry, bro.
Like
you
when
don't
there's,
get it. Nah, I gotta say this, bro. Horror is my favorite genre. And the fact that we've been subjected to such mediocrity this year over and over and over and over and over again in this genre genuinely made me fucking sad. And watching this movie and seeing not only how fun it is, but how smart it is and how original and inventive it is from a movie that's not even trying to do much.
It's so simple.
You have Scream, and that's trying to, be so hip and so meta and try to do
start the
so much
universe again.
and fall on its fucking face. Meanwhile, all this movie is doing is essentially taking a party game and turning it into an accidental episode of Jackass gone wrong. That's what it is.
Yeah.
This movie is genius without even doing anything.
Yeah.
All it took was good writing.
Yeah, well, because there's that scene where they're all talking, they're like they're hanging out, but then they break off into pods. Like, I'm gonna do this, I'll go do this, I'll go do this.
In this movie,
that was the perfect scene where they could have done that. Oh, you're not supposed to say "I'll be right back," but they never made allusions to the rules of horror movies.
This movie
which I love.
creates such amazing atmosphere by just making the movie dark and having the only light that's emitted from fucking iPhone flashlights. Like, this movie was made for nothing, and it's probably gonna make nothing, which is a travesty, but it's better than basically every horror. Not basically, it is better than every horror movie that came out this year. Hell, the best horror movie this year before Bodies was a fucking Marvel movie.
Yeah.
How is anyone okay with that? I don't get that. How is anyone okay with that?
It's not a good year for the genre when it comes to the more notable movies in the genre. And because for me, the ones that were up there were Nope, Crimes of the Future, and Fresh. Those are the only ones where I'm like, good horror movies this year. But really, there wasn't a big output. There wasn't a movie this year so far where I'm like, that's a new modern classic. I was like, I really liked, I really liked Nope. I liked Fresh. I liked, Crimes of the Future. But none of them I was like, well, this is a new modern classic. This is one everyone will watch every Halloween or every summer. They won't pull a Scream or a Sleepaway Camp. No, this is our new one though, of a new classic that everyone's gonna watch every year.
Last year we had movies like
Traditions.
Censor and Malignant.
Oh yeah.
Last Night in Soho, that they were original and they were inventive and they did cool things. That's all I want from this genre. That's all I want. And we don't get that. Instead, we get stupid fucking Blumhouse bullshit that is just rinse and recycle over and over and over again with stupid loud jump scares that are not scary. I'm so tired of it. Horror is in the worst state I've ever seen it. I'm sorry. It is. And it sucks. And I'm so glad that we have people like Jordan Peele and James Wan who understand the genre. James Wan isn't, Malignant was better with this, but his Insidious movies, his jump scares are kind of annoying. They have the loud booms and shit. Malignant didn't really have too much of that. Jordan Peele in Nope, the scares were genuine. They didn't really have that. There were a couple of them, but I was afraid because of what was happening. I wasn't afraid because I was being told to. That's all I want. But people don't understand that. And I really hope people see this movie, and I really hope this movie makes money, because this needs to be a blueprint for how to make horror. It's how to make something scary, but also be fun, but also be smart. That's the key. If horror is smart, you have pretty much 50% of a good movie. That's all I want. And I really hope that people go see this movie, because I've said it over and over again.
It was never dumb or cringe. It was a movie that even the characters, you felt like there was a level of, they weren't going to do the stupid shit of, I'm going to go to the garage and get stuck in a dog door. Like, they don't ever do shit where you're like, oh, that's
this movie had so much potential to be
a disaster.
So like cliche, so
hell, the characters in this movie are way younger than the characters in Scream, and they're all smarter. Except Pete Davidson, who fucking kills himself like a dumbass. But they're all, like, most of these characters are better than most of the legacy characters in Scream. Including Dewey. I'm sorry, the way Dewey died was fucking stupid. The way Dewey died in Scream 5 was fucking stupid. I'm sorry. It was a great kill, but it was fucking stupid.
They're too focused on franchises now, because now Hollywood is more focused on franchise filmmaking. That once in a while we'll get a movie like this or Censor, where it's just
for every one of these we'll get 7 shit Blumhouse horror movies.
Yeah, or like
for every one
reboots.
For every one of these we'll get 7 Screams or Halloweens or they/thems.
Yeah,
I hate.
Oh, is that what that movie is called?
It's supposed to be a joke of like
that.
they kill them, they/them, but it's not funny because there is no slasher elements really in it, so it's not a funny name.
I don't know. But do you guys have any spoiler thoughts on Bodies before we get out of here?
Your point on the state of horror was a good one. I agree with that. I think that as a horror creator, as someone who I write and I direct that shit, it's kind of hard to see like when, and I love it so much. I've loved it for a long time. It's my favorite genre. To see that we get so many lazy horror movies that whenever a movie like this or Censor or Malignant comes out, I tell everyone to see it. I'm like, go see this. You got to see this, because it's like, I'm tired of going to like stuff like The Black Phone or they/them and being like, oh, it's gonna be a standard movie. it's not going to give me anything. I'm not going to learn anything on how to make a better horror film because they're just going to be simple as fuck. This is obviously, and a lot of other A24 horror films that I've had a lot of fun with and I liked, and Neon, it's just original concepts that people do, and it helps me learn a little bit more of how I could do these stories, and I love that. Yeah, I agree with you. I just wish that there was less of the shitty horror movies, but too many people are buying into them, so that's will happen for a long time.
This movie actually got me to care about the characters. It's kind of rare that horror movies
when Alex died, I was genuinely sad.
The last time a horror movie did that, I think it was It Chapter 1, where I cared about the characters. And I love It Chapter 1 for that. With this movie, I don't know. I can't even say how much I appreciate it for doing that.
I cared Malignant. I cared about them Malignant. Mainly the main girl.
I did not care about the sister or the mom. There were just some characters I didn't care about. But this movie, the thing about this movie too is it's very, very contained. It's not very many characters.
It's like short too. 7. It gets to the point.
It's short, one location.
It's simple, one location. And it came out a banger. Crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. Helena Rajan needs more work immediately.
In the genre. Give her another horror film. Maybe she could do a different horror film that focuses on a different subject, but I want to see them give her another horror film. She could become better than Ari Aster really quickly if they give her the chance, bro. For
sure. Forget High West, bro. This is my girl right here, Helena Rajan, who liked my tweet and she commented and she liked my review too. Thank you. Appreciate that. We are going to get out of here. Bodies was great. I implore everyone to go see this. Avoid spoilers at all costs because that ending will make or break it. And if you know the ending going in, it's going to ruin your experience. But thank you to everyone who showed up in the chat. In terms of future content, I don't know what I'm doing. Next week or the week after, probably going to do Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Watch along, figure it out. The details. That's probably gonna be the last thing before Halloween stuff. I'm still figuring out what I'm gonna do with Halloween because I might start in September because we have, me, John, and Alex. We all three have watch-alongs going on, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to fit because I don't think Alex is gonna start his in September, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to fit 3 channels worth of watch-alongs in that 1 month.
Yeah. So I start in September all the time. It usually gives space.
I think that I'm going to start in September, which I'm okay with. The other thing that I'm contemplating is not doing watch-alongs at all and doing reviews for the movies that I wanted to do watch-alongs for instead because that takes up less time and it's easier.
You need to do more reviews.
I don't want to do that because October is my favorite month in the year ever, and I would want to have fun and do the watch-alongs, but if I have to do it with school and work, then I got to do it. That's what I got to do. And I'm doing 31 days on Instagram too. So
I forgot I had this in my pocket. I have to show the audience.
You son of a bitch.
That's the end. I had that the whole time.
Damn it. I knew it was you the whole time.
You know what you got to say. Oh, wait, no. That's when you find the dead body.
No, because I'm not dead yet.
I'm
not dead yet.
Yeah, wait till the stream ends. Your ass is grass, motherfucker. But yeah, and on Instagram, it's the same thing. No new movies coming out. It's not gonna be. It'll be in a little while, but I have the new Lord of the Rings show is coming out in September. I will be reviewing those 3 movies before that show comes out. I gotta find out when the actual release date is so I can plan ahead of that. Cause I did tell myself that when I watch those movies again, I'm gonna watch the extended cuts. So I need to sit down and plan for that. But yeah, that's all I have for Instagram. Yeah, there's no movies coming out. Every big release came out the weekend that this movie came out. So
Mhm.
it's a dead
August.
week. Yeah, August is
Yeah.
of course my birthday week.
Wait till September though,
Um,
because that's the festival movies start coming out and the bigger releases start coming out.
Yeah,
September
man.
onward will be
I
great.
might do a birthday post recapping this weekend because this weekend's going great so far. The festivities keep on going tomorrow, rolling into Monday, so I might make a post on Monday, showing what I did over the past week, 3 days. But yeah, man, thank you guys so much once again. I'll probably do a stream to keep you guys updated with what's happening. That way nobody's in the dark. Even though Benji and AJ are still in the dark. But we're gonna get out of here because I know it's late. Thank you to everyone who tuned in, and everyone have an absolute great